So, welcome to the Happy Mindset Show, episode number 6. Today's episode is entitled Man on Form, and with me, I am joined by Micheal Hilton. Micheal is a life coach, he's a podcaster, and most importantly, he's a father. So, today I thought it would be nice to talk about being a man and what being a father means to him. So, Micheal, for anybody who doesn't know you already, could you give us a brief introduction to who you are and what you're doing in the world today?
I don't know who I am sometimes, Dennis. No, I'm joking. It's a great way to start off. My name's, as you said, my name's Micheal. I'm a coach, a speaker, co-host of a podcast called Men on Form that me and someone kind of come together, had a kind of mutual interest in helping men, and we formed a podcast called Men on Form, kind of speaking around certain topics and making it a little bit fun and playful, not making this so serious. This transformational sort of stuff. We get into personal. One of the things that I've done is I got into personal development, and then I wasn't having much fun in my life, and I went into personal development to make changes in my life, and then I made that not so fun. So I got into something to make my life better, and then that didn't become so fun because I made it so serious and heavy. So that's kind of what formed that. I'm just about to start. So I coach men and women. I'm just about to start my podcast. Well, it's not a podcast. It's called Extraordinary Fathers Project. As my coaching business has grown and evolved, as I would say, it's become increasingly concerning for me about the amount of men that maybe not exploring this or are struggling in their lives. Their husbands and their fathers, and they're kind of finding themselves being lost in a world today where there's a lot of misunderstandings around masculinity and what it is to be a man and be a father and be a husband in today's world. And that's kind of where I'm going with this. So yeah, a brief background on me. I got into personal development it was about 4 years ago. I just stumbled. My first book I ever read was called Who Moved My Cheese. Have you ever read that, Dennis?
I haven't. I heard you talk about it. Right? What's that about?
It's literally about two humans and two mice, right? And it's in a maze. They're in a maze. And what it's basically about is procrastination and slipping into your old habits, right? And not being adventurous and going out there. I won't go too much into it because it'll spoil it for people that want to read the book, but it's a really simple read. That's why it was the first book that I really read. And that kind of changed a lot for me and then sort of sent me on this journey through personal development. So, yeah. So
did it start with habits, changing habits for you?
Yeah. Well, my background is how I got into all this is I'm a recovered alcoholic and drug addict. And I spent large parts of my life indulging in things that weren't of my higher good, and I say back in the day that I wasn't inspired by anything, but there was one thing I was inspired by, and I was inspired to be nothing. I had no dreams, no vision, no aspirations, nothing. I was just like, people say to me, don't you have any kind of nothing in your life? Like, are you not happy? And I say, I'm just happy doing nothing, right? So I had no kind of vision, and I just spent large parts of my life sedating my life with drink and drugs.
What changed then? How did you change from that?
How did I change from that? I kind of got this. I kind of had this desire. There was something there, right? There was something there where, over a period of time, I kind of started questioning whether this was really the life that I wanted, if I wanted to spend the rest of my life doing this. And I didn't know that there was any other life. Like, I had a belief system then, a misunderstanding that this is what men do, right? So as a man in today's world is like, men go to the pub, men drink. It's a man thing to do, right? you ever got any problems or anything like that, you go to the pub and drink, right? Or you just drink because you don't show your emotions. And over the years, it just progressively become worse and worse. I wanted to really impress people, and I didn't feel adequate enough in my own life. But when I started drinking, it gave me that kind of sense of being, and it gave me this sense of allowing to kind of drop just kind of drop this barrier, and just allowed me to be a little bit more crazy, right? And it started making people laugh, and it made me feel good, and I just carried on with that, and it just escalated. And then it come to a part where there was a lot of problems. I was struggling health-wise. I was struggling mentally. I was feeling suicidal. I was depressed, and the drinking got more and more. And it just, I still remember the day now. It was 12 years ago, December the 28th. It was, and I'd been out. I'd been drinking, and I woke up on December the 28th on my mum's floor with item of clothes missing, and I just woke up, and I just sat there, and I just looked up at the sky, at the ceiling in my mum's, and I just sat there, and I was like, if there's anything out there or anyone out there, yeah, I need help, because I'm fucking lost. Are we allowed to swear, by the way?
Yeah. In moderation. In moderation.
I won't drop no C-bombs. Yeah. I need help. I'm seriously lost. And then, cut a long story short, just shortly after that, I found myself going to recovery, and I'd never committed to anything in my life. I never followed through with any commitments in my life. But in that brief moment, I see a room full of happy people, and I went there, and in that brief moment, I was like, right, I'm going to make a commitment to overcome this. The only thing that I had there for me was stopping drinking. That was it. There was no, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to help other people. I didn't even like people really back. Well, I did like people, but I put up this wall. You know, I didn't want people come near me, and that was it. I made this commitment that I was going to change my life, and it evolved from there. So it was just that's where it shifted for me, just in that brief moment, that what we now call insights and wisdom, which I now know to a deeper level. But in that moment, I couldn't name it. I couldn't put anything on it. I just remember sitting there, looking up, and just having this gut feeling like you need help with this. You can't do it by yourself.
Perfect. It seems like what changed for you there was you were willing to receive help, and then you made a commitment to follow through in that. And it seemed like it was a simple thing too. It was like you were helping yourself first and foremost, and then as you started to help other people, as you started realizing stuff. It seems like that now. Could you explain the power of choice? You've got a podcast there. You talk about the power of choice. What does the power of choice mean to you?
The power of choice. The power of choice is we put that one out there because I think a lot of people nowadays, I see a lot of people that have a misunderstanding that they don't have choices in their life, right? Everything is a choice, even to the extreme, right? We have a choice, right? If someone does something bad, like I said, someone said to me, and this is going to an extreme, like I was raped, right? I was raped. I didn't choose for that to happen. No, there are circumstances that happen to us, right? If you're young or something like that, some circumstances do happen. What you have a choice with after is what you're going to do with that, or whether you're going to stay. If you're going to, and this may seem a bit harsh to people, but if you're going to stay a victim to this for the rest of your life, because I remember saying this to someone, I didn't say to them being a victim because it's not how I would kind of.
Phrases.
I wouldn't say that to someone, oh, you're a victim. Yeah. But what I would say is, look, it's terrible what happened. 5 years ago or 10 years or 15 years ago, I've had it with people who have had it 15, 20 years ago, and they're still playing a victim to that. And I say to them, look, you have a choice right here, whether you continue on with this or whether you turn this into something that can be powerful, right? I had obviously I won't give no names. I actually had a lady that come to me for some coaching, and as we started getting deeper and deeper into something, I said, "Why do you feel you can't do this?" So now she was running for some kind of it was like Congress or someone up in like some kind of congress, or say it into words now. I've lost the word, but
Yeah.
she was running for something like that. And I said to her, "What do you feel is holding you back?" And she said, This happened to me when I was a young girl."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Right, okay." I said, "What?" Just simple thing. I said, "What if that was just a misunderstanding, that isn't what's holding you back? It's just the thought that is holding you back." And we didn't even that just changed everything for her. And I said, like, you have a choice what you do this from now on. You have a choice whether you go back into that and feel that that's stopping you moving forward, or you can choose you can choose that this can be an empowering story for other people. Mm-hmm. And this isn't holding you back from anything in your life now, other than when you go back into thought, when you think about it and go back into it. And in that moment, she see that, and that changed, and she ended up getting the position that she wanted. Her life's fucking amazing, right? Mm-hmm. Inspiring lady, really inspiring lady, inspires me. So I think a lot of time, like for myself, is I always thought I was a victim to life. I didn't think I had a choice over drink. I didn't think I had a choice over people, and I didn't think I had a choice over people, places, and things. Is the saying, right? Mm-hmm. I thought that I thought my environment and the people around me kind of, I used to get the ump and blame other people, right? Why you would drink? You would drink if you had a girlfriend like me, right? She's always nagging me. She was nagging me because I was drinking, right? But it was always like and then over time I started seeing the power of choice. Like my choices, I'm choosing somewhere along the line. Like me ending up in recovery wasn't something that happened without a choice that I made further down the line. So like this thing is about the power of choice. We can choose how we want to react. We can choose if we slow down enough. We can choose. I used to be very reactive with my wife in the early days. Like she would say something and I would get all angry and all that. And then when I really started seeing this about slowing down, really slowing down in between, like someone saying something and your reaction, is a thing called space. And when you slow down enough, you can create what you want from that. Now you can choose to react or you can choose to create. And I learned that about my habits and addictions, because obviously I've become a little bit fascinated about habits and addictions because it's something I suffered with. And then I see that in between the thought about drinking, or the thought about gambling, or the thought about drugs, or the thought about watching porn, or the thought about overspending money, is a thing called space. And when I slow down and see that that's just a thought that passes through my head, it's not who I am, then I can choose what I'm going to do with that.
So how did you manage to find that space and start slowing down? It's easier said than done, I think, for people. Kind of looking back on it now, how did you start seeing that there was a space there? Did it seem like you saw it straight away, or was it like incrementally, or kind of?
No, I started kind of. I just started coming across. I just started hearing people talking about slowing down, right? And I used to think that I did slow down, right? Until kind of like about 3.5 years ago, that my world started crumbling again, and I was kind of all right while I was spinning all these plates. My life was okay while all these plates are spinning. Trying to make sense of them all. It gets fucking exhausting. And what I've kind of seen is the more I slow down, right, the more great things happen. The better life is, the better my relationships are. Now, yeah, it's right. Like people say, what do you mean slowing down? It's just, and I'm trying to put what I'm doing here is I'm trying to put this into words. Sometimes it's hard, and I see this a lot, is we try and put into words something we've experienced. Like I try and put into words the experience I had around depression that completely just changed everything for me. And not everyone will get that because they have their own kind of experience with
and
that.
Do people need to get that for you to experience it? Do other people need to get it to validate like that you went through that, or like what?
How do you mean, Dennis? How do you mean?
Then I've often had, I think, like, I'd go through something and I'd find a solution and I'd feel like I need validation from somebody else to say, oh, that's a good solution. And I've started to see it doesn't necessarily work that way. If something works for me, I can explain it, and then it might work for somebody, it mightn't work for somebody. That's kind of...
Yeah, no, so that's exactly it. So like when I'm sharing my story about depression and things like that, I say this to people, I say, look, this isn't a cure for depression, right? This isn't a cure for depression. What this is the experience I had with depression. And you get a lot of people that nod their heads and say, yeah, great and all that. But I say to them, this isn't, it's going to get a little bit noisy at the moment because there's a motorbike going past that side. I'm shaking. A Harley Davidson. But this is the experience I had that shifted me. So coming back to, because I've done a bit of a political thing here, I've avoided the question because I've jumped to something else. So let's go back to slowing down. Slowing down for me is not taking on too much, right? Is kind of having that choice of what I want to do. So before give an example, I'd see 9 clients or 8 clients a day, back to back, back to back, back to back. It never created any space for me to have any time to slow down, right? And just relax, just spend that time, just maybe going for a walk, or just that time where you're just sitting there, nothing on, just no computer, nothing on clothes-wise, but no computers or no phones, just being with you and just listening to what's coming up, right? That's where insights happen. When you slow down, you take a breath and you walk. That's where insights and wisdom comes from. So it's really about just clearing that time in your day where maybe it's going for a walk. I like walking. It takes me an hour to walk to my office. That's a nice time for me just to really slow down and just take a nice slow walk and just enjoy what's going on around me. Yeah. The more I do that, the more space I create and the more I slow down, the slower my life gets. Yeah. It's just slowing down, enjoying what I'm doing. When I'm with my kids, just be with my kids, right? Don't keep picking my phone up. I'm not going to lie to everyone and say I'm not perfect at that, because I do that, right? But when I put my phone away and I just do the washing up, you just do the washing up, not rush through it to get to the next thing. Just do the washing up. It's just being present with what you're doing, just slowing down and just being enjoy it. And that's kind of my way of explaining what slowing down is in this moment. Has that made sense at all?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I think at the start, what my experience was, I was uncomfortable with the silence because all the thoughts would start coming in. But that gave me the opportunity to start recognizing those thoughts weren't me. It was like those thoughts were just rushing through my head. They're all random and stuff. After a while, I was like, why am I listening to these thoughts all the time? And it gave me that distance. So at the start, it could be uncomfortable. But then over time, when you become more comfortable with yourself, it's actually, there's more of a space there for you to relax and allow things to occur to you and stuff, and you can take different directions and meet different people that way. It's been my experience.
I used to call it the sound of 1,000 chattering monkeys, because that's what it used to be like in my head. So it's just like all this noise. But the more I've kind of slowed down and created space and just been with that, right, and just getting that understanding that it's not who I am, they're just thoughts, right? And the more you slow down, the less you get of that. The more silence you kind of it's like I was talking to someone about meditation, you know, and they said they spend an hour in the morning, an hour at night in meditation, and it's kind of, they're not getting a lot done. And I was explaining, like, there's the practice of meditation when you're trying to be in a meditative state, and then there's being meditation, which is just like when I'm walking, it's just whatever I'm doing is it can be in a meditative state. You can slow down. It's just that we get up in our heads and start rushing about and running about and spinning all the plates. You know, I feel it now. You know, I do feel it, Dennis, a lot. If I'm rushing about doing too much, I start feeling it. I'm like, right, just slow down. Like, just take a few steps slower. Just take a few more deep breaths. Just walk a bit slower. We're not in no rush here. We're not in no rush. While I'm in a rush to get somewhere, I'm missing everything that's going by me.
I suppose it's useful to have the reference point that you know what calmness feels like, because I used to know, I wouldn't know what calmness actually felt like, and I'd never be able to go back to the center because I didn't know what it was in the first place. So then I can kind of recognize more when I'm up in my head and getting flustered and stuff, because I know what it feels like to be relaxed. That's been useful to me. Yeah, so we'll bring it back to the men's issues again here. And so you coach men and women, but on the men's side of things, what sort of issues are you seeing men facing nowadays that are common across the board?
So I'm seeing a lot of. We spoke briefly before about like this the misunderstanding of masculinity. I'm seeing a lot of confusion around that now in the world. You know, what men should and shouldn't be and their roles and what they are. You know, and it comes back to that, like what you said about my story was when I asked for help. There was an article I was reading. It's like it said women speak to their friends and ask for help or share their stuff. Men die. That's what it was. It was a study. It said women talk and share their stuff. Men die. And what I see a lot of is a lot of men, because of their misunderstandings of not showing their emotions, not asking for help, a lot of shame about the things that they've done, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. That I see a lot of men that are sedating their lives with drink and drugs, you know, trying to numb the pain, overworking, trying to perceive that there's something that they're not. You know, I was really good at that, Dennis. I was really good at perceiving I was something that I was not. I would hide behind. I kind of thought like to be a man was like to be successful. You know, my self-worth was linked to my net worth. You know, if I didn't have much money, then I wasn't a real man. I was thinking about this when I was walking to my office today about like a lot of the misunderstandings that I carried around as a man, and a lot that I see men coming to me. And it's kind of like, you know, I play a sport. I play inline hockey, like same as ice hockey, but on skates. And you get caught up, and in a changing room could be quite a brutal thing. You know, people taking the mickey and having a laugh and things like that. But as well, there's a lot of like, people get caught up in this kind of try and impress, try and be like this, like, you know, how many people I've slept with or things like that. And I'm seeing a lot of men that are kind of becoming aware that isn't what makes them feel fulfilled in life. You know, like wealth, money, you know, there's a lot more to wealth than just money, you know. So my experience, would it be useful for me to share what happened to me 3.5 years ago around this?
Yeah.
Is 3.5 years ago, I was an entrepreneur. I was building my business. I started doing okay financially. I had a belief and a misunderstanding that if I told my wife exactly how much I was making, she would take all my money away from me, right? So I wasn't being honest. I was newly wedded to my wife. So I was struggling with what a husband's roles are. I was a new father to my firstborn son, and I always promised myself that I wouldn't be the dad that my dad was to me, which wasn't really there. And I was doing that in a different way. I was going out to work early in the morning to work on my business, and I was staying very late, and I wasn't really spending much time with my family, and I was spinning all these plates, and there was never enough. You know, if I made £1,000 in a day, then the next day I had to strive for £2,000, and or if it was £1,000 or £5,000 in a month, whatever it was, it had to constantly be more, and I was never satisfied with that. And what happened is this kind of business went, and this is what I'm seeing in men now is we put our identity into things. We make these things of achievement more important than the connections that we have, which are on a deeper level, like with our wives and our kids. Because there's that saying, isn't there? The keeping up with the Joneses. We buy stuff we don't want. We buy stuff we don't need to impress people we don't like.
Exactly. There's always more things.
Because we just want to look. It's like a symbol status. You know, oh, I look good. Looks like I've got all my shit together. And they're kind of the people that I'm finding a lot of that are struggling the most. So, you know, I got to a point where my identity was in my business, and my business went. It went, right? There was, you know, and I crumbled. Like suicidal thoughts come back. I was really suicidal. I was really depressed. I had so much shame around it. I had so much guilt around it, about lying to my wife about money, the dishonesty around that. I had a lot of guilt and shame around how much time I was spending away from my family. I wasn't being the father that I wanted to be, that I said that I was going to be. I wasn't living in line with my integrity and my honesty, and I just felt so shameful and just felt really, really, really lost. And I said we need to get away, right? So we went away, and probably the best place not to go when you're feeling suicidal, and we went to Devon Cliffs, right? So I was feeling suicidal, and in hindsight, the best place to go.
Ironic,
Cliffs, where there's lots of cliffs, plenty of places for me to chuck myself off. So we went there. It was beautiful because it gave me the space. This is where I started learning about slowing down, and I'd kind of started learning about the inside out way of life. And I was walking along the beach, and I've just asked myself the question, like, why me? Why has this happened to me? And that's when I had an insight that changed everything it's a bit of a cliche saying it changed everything for me, but it did. Not that everything dramatically, like the next day was like everything was great. It's just been over a period of time it's got better and better. But I just had that insight around my depression. Was I had the inability to accept reality. I was walking along and I was asking myself the question, and it just came to me. It's like, Michael, the reason you're depressed is because you've got the inability to accept reality for what it is. And I see a lot of men. I had a guy here the other day, funny enough, that had a really successful business, same as me, lost it all, and he was on his arse and he's struggling a bit in the moment, but he's got so much guilt and shame and beating himself up because of, why did that happen to me? That shouldn't have happened to me. If only I had that old life. Well, the truth was, if he carried on the way he was going, I said to him, how much money do you think you'd have now? And he said, well, I'd have about 500 grand. I said, like, this is metaphorical, but let's have a look at this. So how much money do you think you'd have in the bank if you kept working and living that life you was doing? Drink, drugs, gambling, women, overworking, all this. How much? He said, I reckon I'd have 500 grand in the bank. I said, right, great. I said, at the moment, you've not got a lot. He said, yeah. And I said, look, the 500 grand. I said, you'd have 500 grand, but you could potentially be dead because of the way you was living your life. Drink, drugs, and that. And he was like, yeah. And it just got him to see the hindsight there. I said, potentially, I don't know, maybe not. Are you happier now than you was then? And he said, well, yeah, I am actually happier. And he doesn't have the money, but he just kept going back into that and giving himself such a hard time and so much shame for losing that. But the truth was, he's actually, when you see it, he was happier now. And I'm not saying here, Dennis, that money's not important or things like that. It's just when you make it the most important thing, like this doing all the time and having is more important than just being. That's a lot of problems that I'm finding with men. And I'm speaking from my own experience here because I had done exactly the same. So I hope that answered your question. It was a bit long-winded.
Yeah, it does. It is very easy to get caught in that kind of thing. It's like you're not even questioning why you're doing things. It's kind of you get caught in a loop, and it's like it feels like over there is better than here, and over there is never better than here. It's just an illusion. But it's hard to see it when you're caught in the detail of it. So that's kind of why I know that space for me has been key, because I can't see the patterns I'm running when I am caught up in them every day, day in, day out. It's kind of been my experience with it.
Yeah, we were speaking before, wasn't we? And I was saying, like, what I see is we get up in the morning and we're in a rush to have breakfast. You know, what I'm seeing with like busy businessmen and busy men and busy dads and things like that is we get up in the morning, we're rushing to have our breakfast. We rush down our breakfast to rush to get to work because we're running behind, or we rush to get into work, and then we're in work, we're rushing to get home, right? So we rush to get home, and we get home, and then we're rushing to get into bed, or rushing to sit in front of the TV, and then rush to get into bed just to be rushing, just to get up and do exactly the same thing the next day, day in, day out.
And there's no space to question.
Yeah, and it's like why?
Yeah,
like
it's just a simple question, and it changes a lot of things. Like,
yeah, why is it like, you know, this status of having lots of stuff, You know, and we're kind of taught the more stuff you have, the more happy you are. But people are starting to see that that's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true.
And it doesn't have to be anything dramatic either. It's just kind of like, why am I doing this? And you can continue on doing your stuff, but just with a little bit more space and a little less intensity to it and that kind of thing.
This isn't about like the guy that I worked with this is like we were sharing about the guy who got up in the morning, went to work, come home from work and worked. He got up at 5 and went to work, come home, he owned his own business, and he come home from work, got his laptop out, worked till about 11, 12 o'clock at night at the dinner table, wasn't really connecting with his wife or connecting with his kids, to go to bed and get up and do it again. And I was like, why? He's like, so my kids can have more stuff, right? So it makes sense, right? So my kids can have more stuff. They can have the life that I didn't have. And the reality is, you know, kids ain't going to remember a piece of plastic or something that we bought for them. They're going to remember the times that we were there. And this isn't like a guilt or a shame thing. This isn't, oh, you're bad for doing that. It's just a lot of misunderstanding that we carry that, oh, I need to do that, because we get caught up in this misunderstanding of masculinity that the more money I have, the more successful I am, right? There's a lot of financially successful people out there, but don't spend any time with their kids. And you speak to their kids and like, my dad was never around. I wish I just had more time with my dad, you know? And this isn't about, oh, you've got to go and live on a mountain and meditate and just spend all your time with your kids and that, because that's not productive either, right? If it's just all your time with the kids and you're not doing the things that because most men enjoy their businesses. They enjoy it. They do it because they enjoy it. It's just dropping these misunderstandings and seeing that it does. We go to extremes of doing that. What I'm seeing is it's extreme.
That's true. Yeah, there's no real right answer. It's like if it feels like you're doing something that feels good, like me doing this podcast and creating a website and stuff, that was work, but it felt like I had a purpose and I was doing something that I wanted to do. So it's kind of just looking at the feeling. Am I coming from a feeling of being tense and having to get something to feel a certain way, or am I doing it for the simple act of creating and connecting with new people and that kind of thing? It's just a simple shift that way. It's not it's not moralistic or anything. It's just living instead of just kind of going through the motions.
It's just like, you know, oh, I need this. It's like this. You don't need to do this, Dennis, to feel better about yourself. Yeah. Right. You know, you're doing it just because you enjoy doing it. Yeah. You know, I used to play hockey. I used to play in goal, and people would tell me I was one of the best around. Right. So that gave me a status. So I'd done it. I played to win. I played to be the best. Right. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But when that's your main focus, right? When I kind of realized that there was an up and coming goalkeeper that was better than me, or someone was better than me and we didn't win, then I really started struggling and started feeling shameful and guiltful that I wasn't the best, and my world started crumbling around me, you know. And I hid behind that being the best, and it's like doing something just to get something from it. Like I would only feel happy if I was the best. I only felt happy if we won. And when we didn't, I just felt to pieces. I felt to pieces, you know?
How do you view competition and collaboration now?
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, like for me, I've started to see the value. Like it's not a zero-sum game. Like we can all win. I suppose in sports and stuff, you're competing against a different team, but still, like you're still going out there, you're competing, and you can have a camaraderie there, and the best person wins, kind of thing. I kind of view competition now as that I'm competing against myself and I'm collaborating with other people, and that other people are bringing the best out of me. Even when they beat me, they're bringing the best out of me, rather than me saying, "Oh, I'm envious of them" and this kind of stuff. I'm starting to see that rather than them versus me. It's like we're bringing out the best in ourselves.
Yeah, no, that's great. I like that. I just wanted to get a little bit clearer around the question. So everything was a competition for me. It was me versus the world, right? Yeah, I'm gonna go out there and crush it and kill it, and I'm not saying that I've recently in hockey gone back to play, that I've not fallen back into that. Not competition, but like, oh, I've got to be better. I've got to be better. You know, because this stuff that I speak about here is shock horror. Like I sometimes slip back into it, right?
Like we all
this
do.
Misunderstanding. But the beautiful thing about it is the less the more I do this, the less I spend in it and the less I do slip back into it. So I don't see anything as competition. You speak to other coaches, you speak to other people, it's competition, right? Because you've got to win. As status comes from winning. But I don't see it as competition. I like, again, speaking to a lot of coaches, there's so much competition and comparing that. And there's not. When you make it a competition, then you get caught up in a lot of faults around it, and there's a lot of it just not flowing. There is no competition. The only person you ever really are in competition with is yourself, right? It's your faults that you make up about competition, and it's just, I just see it as like, enjoy it. Just enjoy what you're doing, and collaborating with people. We get so caught up is, I've got to get one better than this person. I'm going to keep this thing a secret. I'm not going to share it. I'm not going to tell this person. And it's so much more freeing when it's not like that. Do you know what I mean? You're like, it's so much more freeing when it's not like that. Like, if go and listen to this guy's podcast. Go and watch this guy's podcast. You might resonate with him more than you do me. It's not about, I've got to beat this person down, or I've got to say things, So hopefully that answered your question there, Dennis.
Yeah, it does, yeah. Like, you used to be a personal trainer too. How do you see the importance of having a healthy body with a healthy mind? Is there a link there that you've seen, or is it completely separate? Or
yeah, again, like, again, coming back to this, like the misunderstanding of masculinity again was like, if I needed this body, again, I got for a long time, my sense of self about my body. So and I see this a lot with guys in the gym and that as well. It's not always done through a way of just being healthy. It's done through a way of trying to impress, right? So people used to go to me, wow, look, you're in really good shape. And it used to be like any opportunity, I'll take my top off in front of people and things like that, because it was giving me a sense of self. The importance of it is when I kind of dropped all that and that misunderstanding that I needed to be that, to be a man, a macho and all that. And I just done it because I just see the importance of it, right? I just see the importance of it. I see the importance of being healthy, movement, stretching the body out, and I enjoy it. Right? I don't do it to go into the gym now to look at a guy and think, God, look at him. We can use it as like, God, look at him. He's in better shape than me. That makes me less of a man. I need to get in better shape. And then you get into better shape, right? And then you see someone else and go, oh shit, look at him. He's in better shape than me, and then you're off again, right? And you're off again. I used to see a lot of that in my own life. That's what I used to do. Now it's just kind of, I used to push myself in training, overtrain. I've caused a lot of injuries in my body from overtraining to try and impress and stuff. Now I just think it's important for the movement of the body. Our body was made to move. Go and lift some weights if that's your thing. They don't have to be really heavy weights, but do what you enjoy. A lot of people go into the gym and do it because they're in competition with someone or something. They don't do it because they so recently a guy said to me, he said, I want to go to the gym. He said, but I haven't got time to spend 2 hours in the gym. I was like, why would you want to spend 2 hours in the gym? I don't want to spend 2 hours in the gym. Like, the workout I'm doing at the moment takes me 20 minutes. I'm doing like the 300 workout. It's good for what the sport I'm playing. I just do that. I'm in the gym no longer than 45 minutes. Oh, I didn't think I could do that. I thought I had to be in there that long to get. And I was like, do what you want to do. Don't do what you're seeing others are doing and thinking you've got to do that to get to where they are or be better than them. So I think it's really important. Yeah,
I think it's listening to your body. Like I go maybe 30 minutes, maybe 2 or 3 times a week to the gym, and I find I'm more energized from it. I'd be tired after work, and I come home and I go to the gym and I get some energy again. And like you're saying there, I don't think we are adapted to be sitting down day in, day out without moving the body and that kind of thing. So I think for a healthy mind, you do need to kind of move your body and be more in touch with your body. That's the way I kind of see things. So what's the goal anyway for the Extraordinary Fathers Project? That's what you're primarily working on now. And what would be your wish to get across the fathers, to see what changes would you love to see happen?
Well, for me, the importance is the importance for me is about men showing up. For me, it's important for me to show up as an extraordinary father, an extraordinary husband, and being a self-leader in my own life. Now, I mean, like, self-leadership is, for me, is a really important thing, and it doesn't mean like, you know, you see self-leadership, you see leadership as like presidents and things like. I'm not talking about that. I'm on about self-leadership is a way of being, you know, taking responsibility, the power of choice, you know, creating new habits, being a man of your word, being within integrity with your values and what you want to do in the world, right? And this isn't like, if you're not doing that, oh, you're a lesser of a man than me. It's not about that. But for me, this is really about, I just see, like, someone was telling me a statistic the other day, by 2025 or 2020, I can't remember what the actual date was. I think it was more like 2025, something like that, in between that 50% of couples will split up and separate, and kids will come from broken homes. And there was a coach that said this that really resonated with me. Is he said, like, as the tide rises, all the boats rise. Steve Hardison, a coach called Steve Hardison. As the tide rises, all the boats rise. For me, is to be the tide, right? And to rise. And for me, it's about other men that, not every man needs to do this. Not every man wants to do this. This is for the men that want to live extraordinary lives, that want to be extraordinary fathers, extraordinary husbands, that want the same, right? That want to step up, that maybe are spinning too many plates, that are feeling lost, that are feeling, you know, a very common thing that I see with men coming to me, especially in their 40s and coming into their 50s, and that is, sit there and they say to me, I don't know who I am. I've spent so much of my life being something for other people, or living a life that just didn't make sense, but I'd done it because I thought that's what I had to do. And now I've got to a point where I'm like, I don't know who I am. So it's for my vision, my goal for this is just sharing this message, that life hasn't got to be that way. It isn't that you've got to give up your job. It isn't that you've got to become an entrepreneur, right? But what I see is, as I work with men, and the happier they become, the more fulfilled they become in their lives, and they start dropping these misunderstandings that they have, you know, about life and about fatherhood, and it's stressful, and this is causing me stress, and that's causing me stress. And the more they start dropping all these misunderstandings, and the happier they are, it has a ripple effect out to the family, right? And they start showing up in a way that their kids are there. Like, I just want to share this. This was a bit of an inspiration around it. I watched a film called Glass Castle with Woody Harrelson. I'm not gonna spoil the film, but it is about a dad, and he had his 4 kids. And the dad was an alcoholic, and he had a lot of great ideas, right? Like a lot of men do. They have a lot of great ideas, but the thing he never done was he never followed through those great ideas, right? And in the end, as his kids got older and older, they just become disillusioned with him and just got really pissed off with him. And in the end, they just said, look, you know, we're sick and tired of your empty promises. We're sick and tired of your empty promises that you always make to us and never follow through with them. And I've been that. I've been that father. I've been that husband that's made empty promises and not followed through with them. And for me, it's about bringing men back into alignment of what's most important to them, you know, and help them to live more fulfilling lives. Because, like I say, and I'm repeating this again, as the tide rises, all the boats rise. And when we're feeling lost in our own life, when we're spinning all the plates, when we're kind of got all these misunderstandings about what men are, shouldn't cry, shouldn't show weakness, shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that, all this stuff, and we're suppressing it, and we're feeling more frustrated, irritated, angry, stressed out, sedating our lives with drink and drugs to kind of get that release, the less likely we are to connect more deeply with our wife, the less likely we are to connect more deeply with our kids. And and it's not something that we choose, not choose to do, but it's not something we're just aware of. We just go on to thought autopilot, right? Just go into thought autopilot and just do that same behaviour each day. You know, one of the things that I hear from men is when they say, "Oh, so-and-so does this, he can't change." When I hear someone say, "Yeah, it's too late for him, he can't change," what I'm really hearing is a belief from that person that they can't change. Right? People think when you get to a certain, I'm 30 now, I can't change. This is just the way I am, and it's just not true. It's just not true. You know, we can make choices, we can change, we can reinvent ourselves any moment, in any given moment, and that's what I want to show men. You know, that are trying to make sense of it all.
Perfect. No, it sounds like a very worthwhile project, and it's something that we can definitely do with nowadays. So my last question for you, Michael, is what's your favorite book and why?
What's my favorite book and why? There's so many.
There is.
There are so many.
Or what's been the most impactful, I suppose, on you?
It's funny, I was asked this the other day on a show, and I'm going to give a completely different answer now.
Yeah.
To the one I gave on the show. Like, okay, I'm going to give my favourite book at the moment, and then I want to just share a couple of books that, if that's okay, that I would kind of recommend as well that are good.
Yeah, that's fine. I think it's the momentary thing. It's like every now and again you have a different favourite book, I think.
Okay, I would say Dr. Amy Johnson's book, Little Book of Big Change. It's about habits and addictions. Now, you know, habits and addictions ain't just about substances that we use, right? They're not just about the things that we do. A lot of people have a habit and of addiction of their thinking, right? They get caught up with the habit of the same old thinking, with the same old behaviours, you know, and the same old, you know, falling into that cycle that we spoke about, the habit of getting up, rushing to work, rushing to get home, rushing to the end of the day to finish work, rushing to get home, sit in front of the TV, rushing to have a dinner, rushing to get into bed, to get up and repeat it all again, right? So Amy Johnson puts it in a really beautiful way about how to break those habits and addictions that we have. You know, those habitual thoughts that we have, those habitual thoughts that we have. I'm currently just reading at the moment, which I'm really recommend as well, is Lewis Howes' book, The Mask of Masculinity. Yeah, that's really good. And Fatherhood is Leadership. That's a great book as well that I'm reading currently as well.
Who's that by? Do you know the author?
That's by Devon. I can't remember the guy's second name. Devon. I'll get it across to you.
Send it on to me.
Yeah, I'll send it across to you so you can put it in the show notes. I do apologise, Devon, if you watch this. I don't remember the second name, but yeah, yeah, there's some good books, man. If you're, and as men and women are watching this, I guess, but if you're a man and you wanna, women read them as well. They're still great books, you know, for women that to read as well. Especially the habit one. That's a great book, Little Book of Big Change.
That's true. Actually, it's good for women to read these things too, to understand men a little bit more. Because I often read stuff which would be aimed at women, and it gives me a bit of an insight into their world a little bit. Because it's not just like black and white, men, women. Where there's a little bit of both in all of us. I think it's a spectrum kind of thing. So
yes, yeah, it's useful. It's useful to understand that, you know. And what we were saying earlier, just come up is women do that. Women do kind of explore this, you know. They're saying that thing about, you know, it's no consequence that suicide rate in men is a lot higher in women, because women talk about stuff. They might not get to the root of it, but they speak with their friends. They have a circle of friends that they speak about. They're a lot more open to this, right? And they'll go and speak about it and stuff like that, where men with these misunderstandings don't. And all this guilt and shame and all this stuff, there's no coincidence that suicide rate in men is a lot higher than it is in women.
So we suffer the consequences of it. So how would somebody reach or contact you if they wanted to, Michael?
Well, Facebook, you know, connect with me on my personal profile. I like to build relationships with people. You know, I've got a business page, but that's just, I just put stuff on there. If
is that michaelhilton.com? Is it that one? Is it? Or
there's at I am Micheal Hilton. That's my page, but just Micheal Hilton. My name's spelled Micheal Hilton. That's just my personal profile. People can connect with me on there. If you want to come and have a chat or anything, I like to have, like I say, relationships. My page, you know, I don't go on there a lot. I just copy and paste on there just for an archive. It's just for an archive for me. And then got my website, michaelhilton.com as well, which you can just, if you want to get in contact me there.
Perfect. I'll put the links in the notes. And you're still doing the Men on Farm podcast too, I suppose. You're still doing episodes of that.
Yeah. You can catch us over on the Men on Form page as well. If you want to go over there, the Men on Form podcast, we're still doing that. We've just started interviewing other people, other Men on Form on that. We were just doing it together, but yeah, that's evolving, and we're enjoying that and having fun with that as well.
Perfect. So cool. Thanks for your time, Michael. Thanks for sharing everything with us today. And until next time,
Thanks for having me.
Have fun and enjoy the process.